From a distance, the modern Skyline looks like the ultimate achievement in mechanized precision. It appears as a landscape of mathematical perfection, assembled by machines. We easily recognize that historical skyscrapers required immense, visible manual labor. You can literally see the hand-laid bricks climbing the steel frames of older structures. Today, the steel girders and massive exterior glass panes of a high-rise do arrive on site prefabricated in factories, cut to the precise millimeter. But there is a massive misconception about the actual floors we walk on. Every square foot of solid floor in this structure was hand-poured and manually leveled right where it sits. Look at the 46th floor of an active construction site. Before it becomes a walkable surface, it arrives as a chaotic, heavy, liquid mess of wet concrete, pumped hundreds of feet into the air. Taming that raw slurry falls to a specific artisan, the cement finisher. This work requires immense physical endurance and the ability to make immediate, tactile decisions while wrestling thousands of pounds of curing liquid stone. Without the manual artistry of the cement finisher, a multi-billion-dollar superstructure is entirely uninhabitable. This cross-section diagram shows the massive logistical effort required to move this material. High-pressure lines force thousands of pounds of dense, liquid concrete from trucks at street level straight up, fighting gravity to reach a 46th floor deck. Once the concrete leaves the pipe, it immediately faces a hostile environment. High wind speeds at 500 feet whip across the open deck, rapidly stripping moisture from the wet surface. The building itself also complicates the process. Tall structures naturally sway to absorb wind forces, which means the finisher is working on an unstable, continuously moving canvas. The combination of gale force winds, rapidly changing humidity, and structural sway causes the wet concrete to behave erratically, drying and settling much differently than a ground-level pour. The extreme altitude actively fights the material's structural integrity. Standard masonry techniques used on the ground become completely useless in the sky. While the macro environment rages outside, a strict microchemical timeline begins ticking inside the slab. This microscopic diagram illustrates the core science of curing. Concrete does not harden by drying out through evaporation. It sets via an exothermic reaction, a chemical process that actively generates heat as the internal compounds permanently lock together. As the compounds bind, they push excess water molecules upward. This creates a thin layer on the surface, known in the trade as bleed water. The finisher watches for this bleed water like a hawk. They must wait for that exact layer of surface moisture to evaporate, but they have to begin troweling before the chemical lock beneath it becomes permanent. The finisher is racing against a ticking chemical clock. Once that internal heat peaks, the stone becomes unyielding. The finisher works the curing surface using wide, flat tools called bull floats, followed by precise steel trowels. With millimeter-level precision in their wrists, they push the coarse, rocky aggregate down into the mix, drawing the smooth cement paste up to create a perfectly flat finish. This 3D model shows why that precision is mandatory. If the floor cures with an uneven surface, rigid factory-made glass windows and prefabricated interior walls will warp and shatter under the building's massive load. The exact fit of the building's high-tech interior relies entirely on the muscle memory and tactile feedback of the human hand that shaped the concrete. Eventually, the exothermic heat dissipates. The chemical reaction concludes, the concrete fully sets, and the shift on the 46th floor ends. All of that grueling, temporary physical exertion is now permanently locked into the anatomy of the building as unyielding stone. Look at this archival photograph of bricklayers working a century ago. You see the exact same intense, unbroken lineage of the masonry craft. Even with towering cranes and advanced chemical mixtures, the fundamental physical toll required to build straight up into the sky has not changed. Now, zoom out from that single 46th floor slab and multiply that manual effort across every single level of a completed high-rise. A completed skyscraper stands as a vertical stack of thousands of handcrafted stone floors. The modern skyline we admire from afar is an invisible, vertical gallery of blue-collar artistry, hiding right beneath our feet.